Hello,
Mr. Hudson, it's Jason. How are you?
Jason. How you doing?
I'm well. I'm sorry to call you so late. It's been a little bit of a hectic day. As you probably saw, this idea of a press conference came up. I was watching one of George's videos where he mentioned that the prosecution against Imran Awan had moved to suppress evidence, and I found that so shocking that I just kind of scrambled and felt the need to do that. But I think it was a success. It was a well-received video, and a lot of people viewed it, and we had a limited amount of press arrive. It was short notice.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
One thing that really thwarted it, unfortunately, is that, there was a service available to me from the National Press Club to send out their own press release, which would have been, widely distributed to a lot of different news agencies. But someone by the name of Bruce the Patriot put out a tweet in which he said, "I'm telling you one time, I'm not scared to shoot you. I'm an ex-effing SWAT deputy. I will cut your ass in half." And for some reason, he included the video where George and I had interviewed H.A. Goodman, which happened, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago. And because of this tweet, the National Press Club refused to issue the press release because they felt that this was a death threat and they didn't want to risk their people. And I pressed them, but
Their people. What does that mean?
well, they were fearful that someone was going to come there and try to shoot me, and that they've got their people working there, and they didn't want someone coming to try to shoot. And I said to them, I was like, "Look, it's a death threat against me. Just put out the press release," and they refused. So the thing
Did
is,
he send the? Did he? Let me
yeah,
back you up
yeah,
here just a
sure.
second, Jason. So you're telling me that did this happen during the press conference?
Well, what happened was I arrived there around 11 a.m. and had to negotiate with them for the room and everything and, sign a contract and all that. And then I was setting up the equipment and I created the graphic and I put out my own tweet and Facebook notification and everything that the press conference was happening at 4 p.m. And in between the time I put out that notification and the time that the press conference was to happen, this Bruce the Patriot tweet went out, and the National Press Club, I was waiting for their social media person to do what he was going to do, and he refused to do it. So the salesperson I was dealing with asked him to come talk to me. He didn't even come to speak to me.
Because he saw the tweet that was sent to you?
The tweet wasn't sent to me. The tweet was just sent out, and this guy found it, and I didn't even know about it until the National Press
Oh
Club
my
told me about
God.
it.
So this guy somehow. So let me understand this correctly. So you're getting this thing all worked out, and supposedly this guy
Bruce the Patriot.
sends sends out a tweet, and somehow the press club finds the tweet,
Yeah.
and they bring it to your attention.
Yep. It's interesting. Now that
And
we're talking about it, he didn't even put my CS the Truth Twitter handle in there. How did they find that?
and then they proceed after you've got your contract. You've already, I would assume, you paid them their money,
Yeah.
and then they surprise you with, oh, by the way, we are so scared that we cannot and will not put your information out to the press club members.
Yeah, and as we're talking about it, I'm becoming actually more confused because how did he find it?
Well, that's a good question, isn't it, Jason?
Yeah.
That's a good question. That needs to be looked
Yeah, I
into.
might have to call them tomorrow and talk to that social media manager because, the salesperson that I dealt with was very professional and the whole staff there was very friendly with me, but I never got to see that social media person. The technical people, everyone was great, but that seems to have thwarted our attendance, and the physical attendance there in the room was a little bit low. The video's been well received. George and I were able to sit in the room, and that was nice to see him again, and
I understand all that, Jason, and that's great, but that's Washington, D.C. hardball, buddy.
you might be right. That's an
That's not
interesting...
that's not something I am unfamiliar with,
Yeah.
and that's D.C. hardball to let you negotiate, let you pay. They get you under contract, they get your money, and then lo and behold, some guy in their social media finds this Twitter And then, oh my God, we're so scared. We can't put out your information. Bullshit. Sorry. Bullshit.
Well,
now, here's how you deal with those guys, Jason. And it's up to you. I mean, it's your money. It's your time. But I know what I would do. I wouldn't call them. I'd march down there physically tomorrow. I'd walk in. I would say, we're going to get to the bottom of this because I'm going to turn this over to the Federal Bureau of Investigation since it went out on Twitter, and they're going to investigate it. And if there's something you need to come clean about this, you need to do it now. And I would even strongly suggest that you give me my money back.
I like where you're going with this.
Well, I'm just telling you.
No, I mean, you know what? It is a little weird because normally, I mean, I'm seriously curious. How did the guy find this tweet? I mean, it's got one of our YouTube videos in it, but I'm not sure how you could search Twitter for how does this guy who never heard of Crowdsource the Truth conceivably search Twitter in like a half an hour? Anyway. Well,
I wouldn't be nice. I would say, look, did you create this?
Yeah, that might be something to do. That might be something to do.
You can get a lot of mileage out of asking questions, right?
It's true. I'm going to have to look into
it. Did you go out of your way to ruin our press conference?
It's interesting, isn't it?
Should I be calling my attorney?
We could get legal fish involved.
Because it seems to me that we have a situation of criminality here, and we have a situation which may also be collusion for you all to stop us.
Huh.
And it seems to me that maybe I should, one, be talking to the authorities, and two, I should probably be filing a civil lawsuit.
It's an interesting turn of events for sure. I just Googled the phrase that's quoted by Bruce the Patriot. I'm not afraid to shoot you. I mean, it's a news item from today, Crime Online. You'd think the National Press Club would be aware of that. It's apparently a gun-toting Houston man guarding an area food mart during the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey. Said he wasn't afraid to let would-be looters know he would cut them in half. I don't know why
Cut who in half?
I guess people trying to loot in Houston, but I don't know why Bruce the Patriot felt that was appropriate, or who Bruce the Patriot even is.
Well, it sounds to me like somebody found something. I'll tell you what it sounds like to me. Somebody went out of their way. They're like, we need to put a stop to this guy.
Yeah.
How do we do it? So somebody did a simple cut and paste and made an assumption to shut your ass down.
It sounds right. We're gonna have to look into that after the hearing tomorrow. But tomorrow's Imran's hearing, and I'm pretty focused on that. I wanted to call you before it got too late because I know we've been both very busy the past 2 days, and I mean I'm sorry to take up so much of your time with this, but you've really helped me uncover a lot of things about it.
That's what we're here for, Jason.
Yeah.
And I fully understand that. Sometimes we come across pretty harsh, and people are like shaking their heads going, oh my God, when these guys want to take off the gloves, man, they really take off the gloves. But, and I understand people's reluctance, but I'll tell you what, I would not be nice to those people tomorrow. I would not be nice.
Yeah. Well, I will certainly take it under advisement, and I might start out nice and see what they say.
You're a better man than me.
I wouldn't say that. But I would like to stay on the good side of the good people at the National Press Club, and who knows what's behind this. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but there's something strange there. I'm sure people in the crowdsourced community will check out this Bruce the Patriot, and maybe even Bruce the Patriot will come forward and tell us what's going on. There could be some other explanation there. But it was great to see George. The press conference was well received, and I'm looking forward to seeing the outcome tomorrow. We saw the motions that he filed, and there's still a lot of open-ended questions. I was pleased to see that George went to visit the stupid attorneys who are representing Imran Awan, one of which I've already spoken on the phone with Chris Gowan. He was very rude, as you might recall, and George reported essentially the same of his partner, so not surprising.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, well, that's okay. This has been a rough week. Long days.
Yeah.
Tremendously long hours. My day today started at about 4 a.m. I probably won't be done talking to the Hudson groups until probably 3 or 4 a.m. tonight.
Wow.
So, long day. And we're not happy. I mean, you talk about being angry. We are angry, buddy.
Yeah.
we are truly angry because the decision was made to get on the phones and to call in favors. Without mentioning names, we happen to know a lot of people in Washington, congressmen, senators' offices.
Mm-hmm.
In some cases, some of our people have long-standing relationships with these individuals. And our calls went unheeded. I mean, in every case, and I mean every case, we were treated as if we were Joe Blow off the street with no relationship or past or friendship or whatever with anybody. That did not go over well. So here's how this is going to play out. And I'm going to make the announcement tonight while I'm on here, because you're right. I mean, I'm the type of individual that it takes a lot to get me upset.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean to say pride, but I do. I pride myself in my ability to keep a level head and a calm spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But when I do get riled up, that is not a good day. And when you get us riled up, that is not a good day. Because the last people that you want to slam the door on are people that used to do what we did. Because we know a lot of dirty, dark secrets. So here's how this is going to play out. If there's anybody with the U.S. Congress that's listening tonight, if there's anybody with the U.S. Senate, you better take our calls. And you better take a stand and be the patriots that you swore to be, and stand for this nation and take a stand verbally on what we know and believe is a threat of national security to our country. Next week, we are going to start naming names. Next week, we are going to make it public as to who we believe in Congress and the Senate have been compromised as a result of the Awan brothers spy ring. We're going to start naming names. We're going to bring it to the attention of the world that Congressman so-and-so, who allowed his systems to be worked on by the Awan brothers, who sits on various committees and has allowed the Awan brothers to work on his systems since 2004 or 2006 or whenever it was, we're going to make it known as to who you are. Because not only do we know the members of Congress that the Awan brothers have worked on their systems, we know for how long they did it, and we know who, whether it was Imran Awan or Hina Albi or any of the other individuals that was associated with them. We have the dates, and we're going to start publishing it. And we're going to ask a very simple question. Are you aware that your systems may have been compromised and that there is a national security incident here, a breach of national security, or were you complicit with it? Are you a patriot of this nation, or are you a traitor of this nation? And we're going to ask that question.
Simple question, but the answer could be devastating.
The answer is devastating, in our opinion. Look, the bottom line is this. We think that the reason why this trial is being handled in the manner that it is because these individuals are holding our government hostage. Think about it. If they've truly had access into these systems and the emails that were associated with them, I would imagine that they have a whole lot of dirt and that's been under the rug and a whole lot of skeletons that have been hidden in the closet. That can be handled. There is a way to handle this. This is a national security issue. That dirt and those skeletons do not necessarily have to come out. I mean, you're either a victim of this, or you're a participant in this, or you're an all-out traitor of this.
Right.
What else can it be? You knew about it. You didn't know about it. You colluded with it. Where do you fall into the realm of this? This is what each congressman, congresswoman, and senator needs to be asking themselves.
This is what I mean. This morning when I saw that video that George did yesterday, that's why I called the National Press Club. I just had this palpable sense of being at a historic moment where we just have to do whatever we can do. I mean, someone's got to come forward.
They need to do their job. They swore an oath to protect this country against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. They need to do their job. They need to stand up and be counted. There are ways, and people may not like this, but there are ways to protect the good congressmen, congresswomen, and senators of this nation. There are ways to protect them, but they have got to stand up. And if they don't come forth, then what's going to happen the following week is we're most likely going to be publishing the days and times and the names of the people we spoke to who did not give them the message or refused to give them the message or did give them the message and then elected not to call us back. Now, how are they going to explain that? Congressman so-and-so, it seems that your office was called 7 times on these dates at these times, and these are the people that were spoken to, and your office didn't even make a return call. How do you explain that? I told you before that what we were about to see was what we call the Washington Shuffle, the dance. I told you that we could hear the banjos playing like in the movie Deliverance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we still hear it, and the music is getting louder. The time is now. The time is now for these men and women to stand up, discuss amongst themselves and the intelligence community that hopefully, I pray to God that there's still some good people there, and make a decision on how they're going to deal with this, because this is espionage.
I can't believe it's a bank fraud hearing. I mean, that in and of itself is a fraud.
That's okay. The only thing these people understand is when the gloves come off and things get dirty, because that's how they play. That's how they play the game.
You know, it's incredible, Mr. Hudson. Like, so many things throughout the course of this whole, since I met George and started working with you and him and everybody, there's all these things that are kind of thematically linked. I mean, you're being thwarted by all these congressmen and senators not calling back, and then, I go start dealing with the National Press Club and somebody puts out this tweet. I mean, who is doing all this? It really does seem like coordinated effort to stop us from proceeding.
It is a coordinated effort. Get used to it and wrap your brain around that real fast, because the days of not understanding that are over.
There's something else that happened that I didn't tell you about yet.
Mm-hmm.
I was holding out on this because I wanted to get the evidence before I really came forward with it, but after the press conference, I was having a nice conversation with George, and, some of the things that have happened in the past couple days and weeks we were talking about a little bit. And we were talking about Robert David Steele, because a lot of people sort of misconstrued what I had said when I was on the train. You and I were talking about email messages that Robert David Steele had been sending to George, that George tweeted out. Obviously, George recognized that Robert David Steele was trying to compromise him somehow by sending him money. And George rebuffed Robert David Steele. That I know.
Uh-huh.
The other thing that George told me is that Robert David Steele directly asked George to write an affidavit that would be used against me in this ridiculous imaginary lawsuit that Robert David Steele is trying to cook up against me for what he considers libel or slander. I mean, he obviously doesn't understand that when you accuse someone of a crime but you have evidence to prove it, that's called journalism. When you make up nonsense and accuse them, that's slander. That's what he's doing.
Right.
So I certainly don't mean to put George in an uncomfortable position, but I really would like to see those emails that Robert David Steele sent to George asking George to do that, because Robert David Steele is actively engaged in an operation to affect George, to affect Crowdsource the Truth, to affect Cynthia McKinney. Robert David Steele may in fact be a CIA agent or an ex-CIA agent or whatever, but he's certainly a current dummy. And even if I can't do anything against him in terms of having him prosecuted, I'll expose his every stupid action and make him totally ineffective, to the extent that if he hasn't already been fired by the CIA, he will be fired again.
Well, it seems to me that he already has some explaining to do in regards to a book that he claimed to have authored.
That's right.
That he did not author, unless we just simply do not understand what he meant by it.
Well,
but it seems to me that you have a letter in your possession of the individual who headed up that the operation to write that manual, and he himself says, "We never heard of this guy."
Decorated retired Army general.
Well, right there, I mean, it's like, look, you're going to ask Mr. Webb or anybody to write an affidavit about this? It seems to me you have some explaining to do of your own. Is there a misunderstanding? Did you misspeak? Did you blatantly lie? What's the deal here?
Can I point out one other thing?
Sure.
He contacted George coincidentally right after George's Venmo account had been hacked, and obviously George is relying on that for money. Now, I'm not saying Robert David Steele hacked George's Venmo, but he certainly knew that George was in a money crunch, no longer being financially supported by Crowdsource the Truth, no longer access to Venmo, and then here comes Robert David Steele with money and an affidavit for George to sign to try to do damage to me.
Right. Well, I think George is a good man, and he's not going to do something like that.
No, I knew he wouldn't, and he didn't fall for it. I'm just saying Robert David Steele is running an op.
Could be. He could be. There's a lot of red flags on this, aren't there?
I think so.
Yeah. So, it's been a very frustrating week. I got a report in about heroin coming out of Afghanistan.
Well, it's funny you should mention it because just prior to our conference at the National Press Club was an opiate conference today.
What was that conference about? How we're going to have a new war on drugs?
I don't know. I just saw the logo. I didn't really listen to what they were saying. I wasn't in that conference room.
A lot of people, I think, wonder, what is the war on drugs? My God, we've been fighting this for how long, right? The government would like us to believe that they have made tremendous progress, and they've done such wonderful things to eradicate and to cut back on the various drugs, whether it's heroin, cocaine, methamphetamines, the various drugs throughout the world, right? Let me give you some statistics. This year, what a lot of people may not know, but the harvest time for heroin is May, typically about May. 8,000 tons of heroin was produced in Afghanistan this year.
Wow.
8,000 tons. The production went up, was increased, they had a bumper crop, and production went up by 42%.
Wow, from last year alone?
Yeah.
Wow.
Drug interdiction went down 29%. Oh, we're doing such a great job. We're doing such a great job on the war on drugs. We've got photographs, and I'm going to be a little bit kind here, but because we know the units that were involved and were ordered to guard the opium fields. We've got pictures of our own troops walking around in the fields.
It's crazy.
Let me give you a few more statistics. How many square miles, Jason, do you think was put into opium production or heroin poppy production in Afghanistan last year that produced this great, wonderful, amazing crop?
I can't begin to imagine.
1,200 square miles. 1,200 square miles was put into poppy production.
Huge area.
How much money do you think that they intend or that they're going to make street value on the crop that came out of Afghanistan this year?
I mean, billions, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, billions, right? That's what George said. Let me tell you what they believe that this is worth. Between 1.2 and 1.8 trillion dollars.
Wow.
Trillion dollars.
It's hard to believe.
Think about this. Do you honestly think that the, whatever you want to call them, elite, dirty governments, filthy congressmen and senators, dishonorable officers in various military positions, do you honestly think that they want to see their $1.2 to $1.8 trillion go away?
Certainly not.
Right. But we're doing a great job, folks. I want you to know we're doing a fantastic job. Our government is doing a great job on taking care of the heroin production that is being brought into this country, that is destroying your sons and your daughters and turning your sweetheart daughters into whores on the street so that they can get a fix. Oh, I got more. You want me to get even more angry about it? Where do you think the 8,000 tons went to be processed?
Pakistan?
Pakistan. Gee, where did it go in Pakistan? Well, it just so happens that several of the big name pharmaceutical companies have decided that Pakistan would be a great place to have our pharmaceuticals made. Bottom line is that these opioids are being made in Pakistan, and then they're being shipped legally to the United States, not only for human use and consumption, but also for animal use by the veterinarians.
Mm-hmm.
If they want it's all put into pill form in various types of medications. So now when they ship it, all of the paperwork is correct. They don't even have to worry about shipping it illegally and taking a chance on hiring mules and all that mess. Well, they just ship it to the United States perfectly legal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when it comes in, if they need some for the street, and on the street, a lot of the street addicts like it to be in a powder form so that they can inject it, right? So they just take the pills and grind them up, turn them back into powder. There's your street heroin. The problem is that sometimes somebody forgets that, these particular sets of pills will say, maybe they're pills, but they're not marked. Who knows? But the thing of it is, somebody along the way forgets that they're 100% heroin in that case for street use. Sometimes they forget to cut it. So we had a conversation with a detective in Florida. I'm not going to mention the county or his name. I'm going to protect him. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to give a whole lot of information other than to say this man has I'm not even going to say that. He has a lot of years, and he could retire, and he's wanting to retire. And he brought it to the attention of his superiors, and they threatened to bring him up on charges and to take away his retirement.
Wow.
And here's what he told us. There are hundreds of bodies every week in Florida of people that have overdosed on heroin, and nothing's being done about it. Well, but we're doing a great job, folks. Come on. I want you to know the war on drugs is being successful. So then I thought, we have an opioid epidemic in the United States. Legal drugs produced by pharmaceutical companies, doctor prescribed. How many prescriptions for opioids, Jason, do you think were written last year alone?
I haven't got any idea.
100 million.
Whoa. Wow, that's half the country.
Right. There were 100 million. Now, granted, some of these were written for a particular opioid medication for, a number of days, or God only knows, weeks, maybe months, I don't know. But what we do know is that there were over 100 million, slightly over 100 million prescriptions written last year for an opioid. That's a lot of pain. That's a lot of pain. And then you go to, you look and you can see that all over the country, sheriff's departments and state police departments are having special meetings to talk about the opioid epidemic and what we need to do about it. You want to know what to do about it? If there's any police officers, sheriff's department, state police, governors, if any of you are listening, you want to know what to do about it, you can start by burning the fields in Afghanistan and not letting the poppies grow in the first place. That's what you do about it. But oh no, that's not going to be discussed.
What about President Trump's speech about Afghanistan last week?
Oh, where they want to send 4,000 more troops?
Is that just to guard more poppy fields?
Well, think about it. When does planting time take place in Afghanistan to plant their new poppy fields? Starts about September, runs into November.
Huh. So, I mean, is Trump complicit with all this, or what? I mean, we've discussed this, and it's
somebody is. I'm not going to say Trump is, but somebody is. Somebody is. And who do you think is destroying the poppy fields in Afghanistan?
I think you told me the Taliban is doing that.
The Taliban. Several incidents of the Taliban going into these, around to these farmers and spraying their fields with a herbicide that basically does not allow anything to germinate, anything to grow for, depending on the concentration, et cetera, for 1 to 2 years. Well, we can't have that. We got to send more troops. Talk about a frustrating week.
Yeah.
To top it off, okay, where are these drugs coming from? Well, we know that in Afghanistan, by the way, the world production percentage from Afghanistan is now hitting 94.8%. Just may as well say 95%.
Wow.
All out of Afghanistan. So we've got heroin out of Afghanistan. We've got cocaine still coming out of Colombia. Guess who seems to be flooding the market with meth? Of course, they want you to believe it's local labs, right?
Yeah.
North Korea.
Wow.
North Korea. So now for the last statistic. The world's gross product, the total amount of it, 5% is drugs.
Whoa. Wow.
Illegal drugs, or drugs being used in an illegal way. So I guess in some respects, you could probably say that figure also encompasses some legal drugs used illegally. But the figure I have sitting here before me, put together by some individuals, 5.1% of the world's total gross product.
Wow. It's shocking information, Mr. Hudson. It really, we've got to get these senators and congressmen to come forward. I mean, if his case is dropped, if he just gets sent to prison for bank fraud or, some kind of tiny little thing like that where he just gets to walk away and this kind of thing continues, it's just got to stop. The country can't sustain like this.
I agree with you 100%. I really do. But, Jason, let me ask you something. When we're looking at trillions of dollars, I really wonder sometimes if a person's moral and ethical compass and their commitment to the people that they swore an oath to, not to mention their belief in God, if they believe in a God, it seems to me that they all have a price.
Yeah.
And when you're talking trillions of dollars, Jason, I just don't know if I think the only way these people are going to stand up, if anybody is going to stand up, it's because they're going to make some way they're going to make the decision that their reputation and their legacy, it's going to be their own ego that says, well, I don't want to get caught in this, therefore I'll stand up. But, down the road I'll get it going again, right? Can't lose that money. We just got to throw a few people under the bus, line some people up on the wall with a firing squad, hang a few. We just need to do that so we can make a good show. And then everything goes back to the status quo. Bottom line is we need to completely change our political system in the United States from the standpoint of a two-party system. I've said it before, and I'm not going to go into it now, but we need to do away with a two-party system. We need to do away with it. We need to execute the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. In other words, we need to get rid of it. The day of this country and the people of this country following a so-called Republican or a so-called Democrat has got to end. We've got to elect people that give a crap about the people they're supposed to represent. I believe that could happen. But these people are so corrupt and so wicked that honestly, I believe that they will plunge us into a world war before they will allow that to happen.
They seem to be busy at that.
Yeah, because it's like I said before. War hides our crimes. That's how these people think. Boy, they're getting close to me. They're getting close to all of us. What do? We'll just give them a good war. Kill a few 100,000 of their daughters and sons, and they'll forget all about the crimes we've committed. All in the name of freedom. That's how it goes, Jack. Very frustrating week, Jason.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow's a big day, Mr. Hudson. We'll see what happens at the hearing. Hopefully the right thing happens.
Yep, we're watching. We're there. People don't think so, but we are aware.
All right. Well, listen, Mr. Hudson, I'll speak to you tomorrow, and certainly we'll have more to talk about then.
All right, Jason. Take care.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.